In this Sunday night matchup, get ready for a lackluster showdown as these defensive juggernauts square off on the gridiron. Can these defenses drag their team over the finish line, or will their offense cost them yet another victory?
And join us as we break down this matchup and give you that missing piece that could put you one step ahead of the field.
Welcome to DFS Insights. I'm David Geislinger, and I'm joined by my cousin, David Grant Jr., your seasoned DFS pro. The teams up on the block today are the New York Jets and the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's start off with the general game breakdown.
That sounds good, but before we get into the breakdown, I did want to mention we gave out yet another winning lineup from the Thursday night game. It wasn't a big winner, but still took home some money. So stay tuned so you don't miss tonight's lineups and predictions and add some more money to your pocket.
All right, and well, thank you. Thank you for reminding our audience about that. So here we go, David. How do you see this game?
Yeah, so I watched the entire Jets Chargers game last week, and that was the most painful thing I think I've ever seen. And I mean, we still have the New York, man, New York must be falling apart because between the New York Giants and the New York Jets, man, is it rough. We got the over under here at 36.5 points. I'll definitely be taking the under on that. And with the game being in Las Vegas, kind of like when NBA players go to Miami or even NFL players, when the game is in Miami, rumor has it the players do like to go out and party. And I know the New York Jets don't have a whole lot to party about, but they do have some stuff to cry about, and I could see them making their way into the casinos and the nightclubs and probably partying it up a little bit before the game. So let's just say my expectations for the New York Jets are not high.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, no,
it,
I agree with that.
and just to kind of jump off here, the Jets offense has only been averaging 16.5 points per game, which is 30th in the league, and their third down conversion rate is 32nd. They are dead last. Um, Basically, last week they went 3 for 17 on third down, and the week before that, could it be any worse? Pretty much. They went 2 for 15 on third down.
Nice. So
So,
you're saying there's a chance?
man, uh, I there's absolutely no chance that Zach Wilson will be in a winning lineup in any way, shape, or form. I don't. You could give him a 5 times multiplier just by himself, and he still isn't going to be in the winning lineup. But what are your thoughts? How do you think this game's going to be playing out?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at these records, 4-4, 4-5. Jets do have the second hardest strength of the schedule by far. So far in this football season, while the Raiders are sitting at 27th. However, the Raiders had Jimmy Garoppolo for, I believe, the first 8 games, 7.5 games, because I believe Aiden O'Connell came in a half a game against, I believe it was the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Um,
that's when he got the whole. He played the whole game against the Chargers, I believe, and then played partial, like the New England or the one before. But either way, yeah,
yeah.
he's only had one other
So
full game.
yeah, so I'm kind of curious to see, obviously, how that is. If you look at obviously the ratings, the Raiders' ratings are based on Jimmy Garoppolo and his underwhelming performance this season, which for some reason everybody thought he was going to be different than what he did on the 49ers. Dude.
I know,
So
right?
I mean, he might be okay, but he's so injury prone, clearly. So kind of looking forward to seeing what Mr. Super Trooper Aiden O'Connell can do. With that mustache. And then the Jets. Clearly, you can see their offensive passing, rushing, receiving is minimal. How to be honest, how it's even in the 60s is beyond me with Zach Wilson's performance. Like, getting the ball to these receivers seems like, a chore in itself. Their defense, surprisingly, sitting at 88. After kind of digging into it more, we'll discuss it later on, but it's a little bit more porous than I thought, based on it. But yeah, so I kind of see this being a low scoring game, based on what you said. The over under, I believe, is about 36.5 now. I kind of what I said, similar to last game, where it's just, you know, it's the almost the exact opposite. It's two horrible offenses and two great defenses. Where last week it was two terrible defenses and not even minimal offense. So kind of looking forward to seeing what defense rises to the occasion and basically says hop on my back, I'm going to carry you over that finish line.
Man, and I mean, granted, I know some of the Jets, big name defenders were injured. I'm not fully sure their status for this game. I don't believe they're going to be back. But as far as the Raiders go, I've been seeing Max Crosby, and that dude is everywhere. I mean, he is the defense for the Raiders. He had the Raiders last game had 8 sacks and 9 quarterback hits against the Giants, and the Jets gave up 8 sacks and 8 quarterback hits versus the Chargers. Um,
Wow, yeah,
and
that's
and yeah, and the Chargers and the Raiders defense, the schemes that they run are very, very similar. So, um, I would expect another. I don't know about 3 fumbles from Zach Wilson like he had last week, but you can count on at least 2 turnovers. That's for sure. Um, and then the Jets pass defense, they did hold Justin Herbert to 136 yards, 4.5 yards per attempt. He was sacked 5 times and had 13 quarterback hits. So, I mean, judging on what the Chargers, I'm sorry, judging on what the Jets pass defense did, um, I really, this game's going to be a run heavy game. There's
yeah.
not going to be a whole lot of passing. We got 2 quarterbacks. We have one new one. We have one that we know is garbage. One that's new. A lot of times that equals just handing the ball off and lots of running and lots of field goals.
Nice, and I just want to bring up another point too. Is I'm kind of also basing my kind of breakdown and my analysis and my lineups are going to be basically like momentum going into this game,
Yeah.
where Jets are. I mean, to me, it kind of looked like either the Jets defense was just gassed out at the end of that Chargers game, or they just gave up because it was like they were on the field 90% of the time because their offense couldn't do anything. And so
Yeah.
I'm hoping, they're professionals. Obviously, I think they're going to go out and play. But if Zach Wilson goes out and has another performance like he did, like, is his defense going to be able to maintain even against that rookie quarterback in Raiders? Because like you said, he can hand off. Josh Jacobs, he's not a rookie. He got 2 touchdowns last game, so
Yeah.
he can just be running it down their throat. And if they're on the field for an extensive amount of time, you just run them down, and there can be some points scored there. But and not to mention Raiders were smoking cigars and everything in the locker room, so
Yeah. Yeah.
they're high
I
on
saw that
life right
locker
now
room
with
party.
the blow up, firing everybody and benching others. So, but
Yeah.
that's kind of
See,
how I see it.
Yeah, that seems like some new life has been given over there to the Raiders. I'm still a little concerned about Devonte Adams. You know, now that having a new quarterback coming in, um, it didn't really seem like they were on the same page.
Well, yeah,
And
let's head over here to the player analysis, and let's start diving into what you think about that situation.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, we got Devonte Adams is up there as one of the top three most expensive plays, and I mean, he has been under 60 yards the last 5 games in a row, and he has no touchdowns in 6 games in a row. Really, ever since he came out and kind of gave that "I'm frustrated" interview, it feels like I don't know what's going on, but it it isn't good. I'll just leave it at that. I know the targets are kind of there, but the routes don't seem to be very deep. He's only getting, I mean, again, under 60 yards in 5 games in a row. I mean, that's not Devonte Adams esque. and and on 7 targets, 12 targets, and getting, 4 catches, 1 catch, 7 and 34 yards, 11, 57, 29, and then no touchdowns. Um, and going against this Jets defense and having a new quarterback and what the game plan is to beat the Jets, I just don't see things really changing. I mean, I know he's Devonte Adams, and you can argue the fact that he's due for a big game. Um, I still don't think that this is it. So I'll be under the field when it comes to him. I will be super heavy on Josh Jacobs and Brees Hall. This is going to be a run heavy game. I believe it's going to be really low scoring. Um, and I'm going to be as a bit, general overview on here. I'll be heavy on the kickers, on the defenses, and to be honest, a couple of these low-owned dart throws. What are some of your thoughts here on the player analysis?
Yeah, I tend to agree with the running aspect. I'm going to be kind of scripting this game as run oriented. Just one, I don't know too much information with Aiden O'Connell. He did. I mean, the one good thing is from at least the full game he played against the Giants, no turnovers. However, also no touchdowns. So as a quarterback, you're really looking forward to that. And he does have an extra week of practice now with the first team, so he maybe gets a little bit more comfortable throwing it to Adams and Myers and things like that. But I'm not sold yet. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be relying on Josh Jacobs, and I think also Josh Jacob kind of wants to prove himself still. Being he was off to a pretty rough start. So, but at least the last few games, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns, touchdown. I'm not sure really what happened with the Bears there, but at least he's getting decent points. The Brees Hall is unfortunately the saving grace of the Jets offense. Uh, One glimmer of hope I can see, at least on the offensive side. I would be all for Garrett Wilson. I think he's a great player. It's just the person throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
To be
Yep.
honest, at 11K, he would have to have a ceiling game for me to consider that, or at least his ceiling, or right now his highest is 19.2. So I would be looking at an 11K salary. At least what 13, 14 points, and he's only done that once out of the games he's played. And with Robert Sala's interview, saying, hey, when asked the question, what's going on with Trevor Siemian, and basically pleading the fifth, was it a joke? It could have been, but if he was really confident, he would have, probably pushed back, to me at least, a little harder on the reporter there. So could we see Trevor Siemian? That's a high probability, because if Zach Wilson fumbles 3 more times or throws interceptions, or three and out, three and out, three and out. Do we see Trevor Simeon's? Because to be honest, what do they have to lose? uh,
Yeah.
so, so, like you said,
It will.
Jets, definitely the defenses are viable in this one. I'll be looking at the kickers as well. Um, as far as these lower owned guys, definitely will probably be playing more favored towards the Raiders side of it, just because Aiden O'Connell being that second string or the QB2 originally, he has more, I guess, a relationship with those wide receiver threes, wide receiver fours, and I think he might be, more comfortable in a situation where he can throw it to them. That's maybe why he hasn't developed that relationship with Myers and Adams yet, because he really never got to practice with them because it was always Garoppolo. So that's kind
Yeah.
of how I see it. I mean, but tend to agree with it's going to be run. It's going to be if there are any points scored, it will probably be running. Defenses are going to do their thing and probably be a low scoring game. So with that, you want to jump over and take a look at your lineup and give everybody your thought process behind that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the lineup that I'll be putting into the $9 GPP. Um, and it's three two Raiders. Josh Jacobs I got at MVP. I'll be either equal to or over the field on him. Um, I believe I'll be doing somewhere between 10 and 20 lineups just to kind of give you an idea. Um, and not all specifically in the big tournament, but just overall. And so I'll be over the field with him at MVP. Then I got Brees Hall. Again, I think this is going to be a very run heavy game. And I got the Raiders defense because after what I have seen from Zach Wilson specifically, and the way, I mean, he had three fumbles last game. And again, they're it's all Zach Wilson, and well, it's Zach Wilson and then Max Crosby. I'm sure Max Crosby might knock him out of the game. He hits so hard. That dude is huge, and I I I can see a ceiling game for the Raiders defense. And if I got the Raiders winning, and I think it's mainly going to be field goals. That's why I'm going with the Raiders kicker. Um, I could see subbing him out for Zerline. That's okay. I was trying to leave a little more salary on the field or on the lineup as well, because this leaves 1,500 remaining instead of just 1,000. So trying not to make a lineup that's going to be duped, 100 times. And then for my last play on here, I got Tyler Conklin, the tight end for the Jets. He doesn't have a touchdown yet this season, but from what I saw last game, he did go 6 for 6 for 66 yards. And the one touchdown that they almost scored, I sent you the photo during the game because I know you had him in one of your lineups for that Charger game. I mean, I think he was just shocked that the ball was thrown with such accuracy while he was wide open. So it hit him off the chest. He was shocked. Everyone was shocked. Zach Wilson kind of lost his mind because he was shocked and he dropped it, and that would have been his first touchdown of the year. But nonetheless, he did go 6 for 6. So, is the trust lost there with Zach Wilson because he did drop it in the red zone, or, you know, which again, how's that? I don't understand how it's 6 for 6 if he did drop it. So how's there 6 receptions on 6 targets? Am I mistaking him for Azuma?
You might be a Zuma.
Uh,
Pretty sure.
Man, I could have sworn that was Tyler Conklin, but again, as you can tell here, my analysis of he dropped he dropped it in the red zone. I guess he clearly didn't if he went 6 for 6. Um, just so that I'm not losing my mind over here, let me get over to Azuma and he went 2 for 5. So I'm assuming it was him that dropped that
Yeah.
in the red zone.
Well, either way, I think yeah, Conklin. Um, Everywhere I've read and done the research on and everything like that, he's basically Zach Wilson's safety net, safety valve, whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it.
that's what it felt like
Yeah.
for sure. Um, and so you know, and I mean, uh, to really set your lineup apart in such a large field GPP, you could take out Conklin and go Azuma. He did get the most 5 targets. That's the most he's gotten all season. He did go 2 for 5, only for 11 yards, but he did have the red zone target that he dropped. Um, Obviously high risk, high reward type of a play there, and he's only 5,500. He'll be he'll be under 10% owned. I mean, I would guess below 7% to be honest. Um, so it's risky, but you wouldn't be tying. But I'm going to go ahead and do the safety net and go with Conklin. I know he's catching the ball. I know he's getting the targets. Um, so, yeah, how about we take a look at your lineup and see what you got going on since I have a gut feeling it might be a little similar to mine,
Uh,
even though we made these before talking to each other.
yeah, it's crazy because when you sent me over that so I can set up, this video and stuff, I was like, oh, that looks awfully familiar. So, not to rehash everything that's previous stating, but my mindset, like I mentioned before, going with the run heavy approach. So I'm going to have Josh Jacobs as my MVP in this lineup. Raiders defense, I believe with that Max Crosby rush and Zach Wilson, like I said, getting sacked 8 times. So even if they can get through half that, I see the
Yeah.
Raiders defense being viable. Zach Wilson is, fumble prone. He's not very accurate. I believe Garrett Wilson was like 1 for 7 or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
excuse me. Um, then with it being also a rookie quarterback in Vegas, so I did go with the kicker because I believe he's good enough to at least push the ball down the field. And if they can't, get there with the run, I'm going to bank on that kicker coming in to play there. Brees Hall, like I mentioned before, he's the only little sparkle of light over there on the Jets offense. So hopefully, um, the Raiders have given up, averaging the last 3 games, anyways, a little over 4 yards a carry, probably about a little over 100 yards rushing per game. So 1 touchdown out of the last 3 games. So that's not that reassuring, but it's still better than any any
Yeah.
other aspect that the Jets have to offer. This is where I differ from you. I'm going with the 4-1 approach because I just can't see any other player on the Jets besides the defense and going with an MVP in the the at the Raiders, and I'm kind of hoping they score decent points. Unless the Jets defense, which I can see getting a pick six or a special teams score, I just don't like necessarily kind of doing that in this particular. So I went with the 4-1 approach to the Raiders. I went with Trey Tucker. He did have, I think, 3 catches, 52 yards last game. And as mentioned before, I think he has a little bit more relationship with Aiden O'Connell because he's probably, out there on the practice field with him. Um, Now, does he lose that now that he's practicing with, Aiden O'Connell's practicing with, Adams and Myers and learning what they do, a lot more? Yeah, possibly, but I'm kind of banking on that as the low owned guy. And then I was looking at possibly another a low owned guy. This guy's at 6,500. Xavier Gibson, who I believe is the wide receiver 3 on the
Yeah.
Jets. And however, it's the Jets wide receiver, and it always falls back to the quarterback. And I
Yep.
just can't do it. I found this, a pretty appalling stat that he caught both of his targets. Xavier Gibson caught both targets last game for 32 yards. This marked, and I quote, the highest total in a game this season by a Jets receiver not named Garrett Wilson or Alan Lazard. 32
Man,
yards. So that kind of just says it all to at least, me on
uh,
that aspect. So, I mean, I was gonna throw it over to you to see what you thought of the lineup, but it's basically the
yeah,
same thing. But
yeah,
yeah,
great, great lineup, and I like the again, that kind of leads us over to the ending part where we kind of talk about who's our main MVP play, and then who are some of those low owned guys that we could put in there that do have a chance to make a winning lineup. I think Xavier Gibson is one of those guys. I watched, I mean, in the first quarter, he looked great.
hmm
Again, uh, it's the guy throwing him the ball that's the scary part. But should somehow, some way, Zach Wilson actually get the ball to where a receiver can catch it, Gibson looked good. He made one of those catches was incredible, and his route running is really good. Um, and another low on play I kind of like is Michael Carter. He's at 6,000.
yeah,
He's a running back for he's basically the second or third running back for the Jets. Um, I could see if they're just down a whole they're down a whole lot and just need to try something new, or like, the other guys are just going to start getting some time because the Jets are that bad. I see that as another viable 6,000 play.
no, yeah.
Um, and yeah, that about, and then again, my MVP would be Josh Jacobs all the way.
Yeah, nice. So, with that, let us know whose lineup in the comments below. Let us know whose lineup you will be entering. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, so you don't miss these lineups. Every Thursday night and Sunday night game. And I think, David, you jumped ahead a little bit, but let's
Yeah,
go ahead
I
and
got
talk.
excited.
Yeah, let's go ahead. You mentioned your value play, and then who's your MVP for the matchup?
Yeah, it'll mainly be Josh Jacobs, and then, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna sprinkle in some Brees Hall, and then I'm also gonna get a little crazy with the defenses and kickers sprinkled in as well. Now, again, my main play 70% Josh Jacobs, so I just see their offense, even with the new quarterback, being better than the Jets' offense. The Jets' offense is non-existent and it's a mess. It's only Brees Hall, and it's only about him getting a handoff and being able to do something after he gets the ball. That's their only saving grace. So that's my MVP. What are your thoughts on the MVP?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna agree with you. Josh Jacobs for sure. Like I said, I have the Raiders, winning this game, and they'll probably get. I'm thinking anywhere 17, 20, 21 points or so, and then Jets 10, maybe 13, just to be slightly under that 36 and a half point over under value. So Josh Jacobs, I can clearly see. Obviously, I hope he gets 75 plus yards and a touchdown would be nice to see from him in the MVP in this game, because I believe the Thursday night game, the most optimal lineup was 61 fantasy points. So I
Yeah.
can clearly see this game being maybe slightly over that, maybe 70, mid 70s or so. So I think if you come out with your MVP low to mid 20s, you'll be sitting pretty. As far as my value pick, I'm obviously in this lineup hoping it's Trey Tucker, but I think I'm gonna have quite a bit, if not over the field, definitely over the field on the Raiders tight end Michael Mayer. he seemed to be getting quite involved in the last few games. And I know Jimmy Garoppolo, at least when he was quarterback, he mentioned to the coaching that he wanted to get the tight ends more involved. And, when Darren Waller was on the Raiders, he was, definitely involved in their offense. And, obviously they got rid of him. So hopefully they can go back to that tight end, at least make it look like my value pick's right. So.
Yeah, usually rookie quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks coming in to be starting, that usually their comfort throw is to the tight end. They want those, short, just dump off plays and, getting them 5, 6, 10 yards at a time. And I could definitely see that also being a great play.
Nice.
So.
And with that, I'm going to go Raiders, like I said, 21 to Jets 13.
Ooh, you're giving the Jets 13. I'm going to go Raiders. Let's see, I can go Raiders 2 touchdowns. Oh, 2 touchdowns and a field goal, 17, and the Jets, man, squeaking out like 9, like 3 field goals probably.
Yes, you can't go negative in football. Okay, so with that, just make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and that notification bell so you don't miss an episode of DFS Insights. And we'll catch you in the next one.